Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the talk. I have with me the lovely Samantha Mack. So, how
Hello.
are you? I'm super excited to be doing this interview. So, how are you?
I'm really good.
Now,
Oh,
I don't know how you identify yourself, and you've been involved in a lot of different aspects of the adult industry. How do you identify yourself as part of that
oh,
world?
it all depends on who I'm talking to, but I'm very flattered when people call me a porn star. But I'm definitely not a star, not yet.
And so, obviously, you've done stripping, you've sometimes you're a porn star, you've done a lot of clips for sales. How did you
Mhm.
get all involved in all of this, and where did you start?
Oh gosh. You know what? If you want to get into like the psychology of it all, I think it started years ago. Like back in my childhood, I had really big boobs when I was like 10 years old. And everybody told, like, my whole life I've always had to defend myself. People always told me that I was inappropriate or that I had to cover up and that I was wrong. I remember being at church camp and it was so hot out and I was wearing a tank top and it was a full coverage shirt, and but you could see my bra strap because the strap of the shirt didn't line up with my bra strap. And they were just like, listen, if you're going to go to hell, this is inappropriate. We shouldn't be seeing your bra strap. That's lingerie. You're making the boys feel bad. You're the problem here. You know, you're being too sexy. This is not okay. And I was like, 13 years old. I'm like, Jesus Christ, it's a bra strap, guys. And I was just constantly having to defend myself, being like, these are just boobs. I'm not some sex object. And then finally, just gave up. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll be a sex object. And by the time I was about 20-ish, I I really wanted to be like a centerfold, like the girl whose picture you would put in your locker, or the girl whose magazine you would hide under your bed. And I was like, oh, I really wish that people would think that I was that pretty. And so I started doing more shoots and started just kind of it started off as like a fuck you to everyone that told me that I couldn't be this, and it just kind of went on from there. I ended up working out a lot. I lost 100 pounds, and every time I lost 20 pounds, I gave myself a present. So when I lost 100 pounds, I took a pole dancing class. And after my first class, I was hired. I started work the next Friday and realized how much money you could make stripping. And I quit my day job and became a stripper. And the rest is history.
And so there's a lot to unpack there. And I want
Yeah.
to really start. Growing up, you said you were in church camp. Were you religious and were you rebellious and were you kinky like growing up, or was that just not there and then you just kind of finally gave in and due to the opposition, you were like, I'm going to be the opposite?
With church camp, I was a church camp counselor for 4 years, and I only listened to Christian music, and I was very isolated by choice. I just thought Jesus was the coolest until I got a Jesus tattoo, and they kicked me out of church for having a tattoo. And I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, I thought that I was loving God, and they're like, oh, but you tainted your body. You're no good now. And I was like, all right, bye. And so my religion started and stopped within those 4 years, and I haven't been a religious a day since. I was just like, you can totally like kick someone out and neglect them just because they have a mark on their body that you don't agree with. I'm like, it's Jesus. Granted, it was a tramp stamp tattoo, but it was still Jesus. Um, so yeah, the that gave me a sour taste for religion, and moving forward, I realized that people are going to be judgmental and they're going to be crazy, so you might as well do what you want and have fun because somebody's always going to judge you and you're never going to be good enough. So enjoy your life while you still have it. So I started having more fun, started doing what I wanted, and I really liked being the girl in the spotlight and the girl on stage and the girl with the big boobs and the girl in the magazines, and I liked this life, so I continued with it. It may have been a little fuck you to religion.
And obviously, I mean, you started out really doing a lot of photo shoots. Like, how did you even really get hired for that type of work? And where did you go to look for that type of work?
Oh goodness, my first photo shoot. I don't even know how I found out about it. It might have been in like the back of a Georgia Street magazine. Oh goodness, it was a long time ago. But I remember going to my first shoot, and it might have been a guy that met me in the strip club told me he was a photographer. But I fell hook, line, and sinker for a guy who said he was a photographer, who was just a guy with a camera. And as I was changing for my photo shoot, I heard something over my shoulder. I looked behind me, and he was jerking off, and he ejaculated, and it fell to the floor and landed in my sneakers. And I was just like, oh, from now on, I gotta check people's credentials. So I ended up not saying anything. I felt really awkward. Continued the photo shoot, and he knew he got caught jerking off. He jerked off my shoe. I did not wear my shoes home. And from that point on, I made sure that I kind of made my mom and time manager a little bit, where I made sure she crossed all my T's and dotted all my I's for me when I went to photo shoots and events, because I was like, I'm not going to I'm not going to be the dumb girl. I was the dumb girl once, I'm not going to be the dumb girl again. And started getting better gigs, and with the growth of the internet, it got a lot easier, and one thing tumbled into another, and I ended up hosting the taboo sex shows and getting very popular through being on larger stages. And then that grew over the years till I was hosting the barbecue out in Richmond, Virginia, and that was a huge audience. The more visible I got in Canada and other countries, the more my popularity grew, and I no longer was just a pretty girl in the photo. I was Samantha Mack, and people were hiring me for my attitude, my personality, and the sassy things I would say on the microphone, and the outrageous things I would wear. And that's where my career ended up. And that's how I got hired for a shoot with Burning Angel. It was Samantha Mack got hired, not the girl with the boobs, not the girl who looked pretty. It was me, the character, and my following. So it's been a good career path for me.
And now to kind of unpack that even more, you went on a photo shoot. It wasn't exactly, I think it's safe to say, it wasn't exactly the safest photo shoot that you went on. How do you go about ensuring your safety when you go on photo shoots? And obviously, I think strip clubs tend to be more safer due to how they're structured. As an independent model, how did you go protecting yourself, both financially and physically?
Well, with the first shoot I did, I had I think it was my friend's brother drove me, and he was like waiting outside for the photo shoot. I was texting him throughout, and then I was like, you know what, this is not the best option. So I just demanded to have my own security with me, and people who have legit companies and legit events totally respect that. And if you work bigger shows, it's very common for performers to have dressers. And so I just started saying, okay, this person's coming with me. I'm not traveling alone. I don't do this. I don't do that. I got pulled over in the airport once by a guy who thought that I was somebody else. And he's like, you're famous. I know you. And I got like mobbed by these three guys. I'm like, I need to take my flight. Let me go. And they were like holding on my arm. They're like, no, come on, talk to us. I want pictures. And I was like, I have to get my airplane. So from that point on, I was like, okay, I'm not doing anything alone anymore. And it might cost me some gigs, but at the end of the day, I need to be happy. And I don't want to sit in airports alone. I don't want to have to hang out with strangers alone. The more I got noticed, the more that was important to me. So now I have, where I travel internationally, I have a security guy that comes with me, Robbie Coombs, and he's absolutely lovely. And for most of my local gigs, my boyfriend comes with me now. But if they're not available, then I've always got someone with me. I'll bring my own photographer, or I bring my own social media person to represent me while I'm performing. So I'm never alone anymore, which is smart.
And now to talk about your stripping, because we're going to get into a lot more stuff that you've done, because you've been all over the spectrum in the adult industry, but with stripping, how did you find your first place to, I guess, strip and perform, and how did that all work?
Oh, I went to a pole dancing class at the Paramount in New Westminster, and the boss walked in, and he liked me, and it was a Wednesday, I believe, and he asked me to start work on Friday, and it was just that easy. And it was a really safe place to work, and really lovely, and I never had any concerns working there. The bouncers always walk you to and from your car. You, everything's on camera, so there's no concerns working in a strip club. Um, from there, I went on to work on the circuit across Western Canada, and same thing. You've got a check-in early in the day where you meet the staff and the owners and the managers, and you sign your contracts. And if you need anything, usually you're staying at a dancer house, which has a security person at it, so it's very safe. And the girls always stick together. You usually travel with somebody. You don't travel alone. You usually end up going to, like, I was going to travel to, like, Edmonton or McMurray. I would go with a girl who's also working so that we could split the travel costs. So you're never really alone. And I've never actually been in a dangerous situation where I've been concerned. Strip clubs are really safe to work at.
And now there's this common myth, and I like to break some myths and kind of dive into it, where people think that strippers make a ton of money and that they're doing really financially well. How does that all work? Without going into too much detail, what costs go into or cut into what you would make?
Oh, goodness. Stripping can definitely make you a lot of money. It did back in the day. When I started, girls are like, the money's not what it used to be. Don't expect too much. And then I caught myself saying that to girls 5 years later. So it will never be what it used to be, but the costs are pretty high. If you want to make big bucks, you need to have feature costumes. You got to pay for the full sequin outfits, which can run you about $800 a costume. You have to have at least 5 costumes to go on the road, theme music, edited sets. You've got to have props. When I would do my prop shows, I would spend about $40, $50 just in props for my show, because I would shoot confetti out of my hoo-ha. Well, it looked like it. Cover myself in lotion, do paint shows. You're spending a lot of money just to put on your show, as well as all of your merchandise that you have to sell. It's some clubs mandatory that they produce your merchandise with their stamp on it, and you buy it back from them, which, good business for them, bad business for the dancer. But we make posters, magnets, lighters, T-shirts. At one point, I had foam fingers. I mean, you're constantly buying Sharpies to sign your name. There's lots of little costs involved there. And then when you're traveling on the road, too, sometimes accommodations aren't provided for you. You're paying for a hotel every night. So if you're paying for a $100 hotel every night, you've got to make $100 in tips just to cover your ability to be there. So it's better be a good club that's going to make you good money. Not all clubs are created equal. Sometimes the smallest towns I've ever been in always have the best money, and I'm not sure why that is. Drayton Valley was my favorite place to ever dance. It was a tiny little hole in the ground, but the people there knew how to throw their money around, so I was happy to perform. Vancouver itself can be one of the hardest places because there's such high competition with other clubs. So sometimes you're rich and sometimes you're not, and it would all depend on if there was a hockey game or Super Bowl, or if there's a movie filming in town and that crew is coming and celebrating at your club. The tides of the strip club very much depend on what else is happening in the city. If there's a Metallica concert, that's a good night to work.
And obviously, I mean, you have stripped. When did you decide to make the transition into doing porn, which kind of led down a different path for you?
I quit being on stage in 2009 and decided that I wasn't going to spend any money traveling anymore. It was costing me too much, and I missed not having friends and not having a home base. And I was paying for my apartment in Vancouver, and I was never here because I was constantly on the road working. And so in 2009, I just gave up, and I was like, you know what? I want to live here now. I want to have a home. I want to be a normal person. So I started solely working at the Penthouse, and I became one of their house girls. And I lived in Vancouver and I lied on the beach all summer and I worked all night at the penthouse, and that was my life until 2011 when there was a fire at the penthouse and we were all suddenly out of work. And I just started dabbling in pornography at that time. My girlfriend was a dominatrix and she had her own website. She did really, really well. And it was just mind blowing how much money she was pulling in without having to have sex. And these videos she was doing, she always wanted somebody with big boobs in the video. And so I came in, I did one or two videos with her, and I started off really tame with a foot fetish video, and then it went into like a sweaty workout video, and then I was like holding my hands over the mouth of a guy getting jerked off by her, and then we were both like spanking a dude tied up to a cross, and it just progressed from there into fetish porn. And so this had just started when there was a fire at the penthouse, and we all lost our jobs while we repaired the place. So I started relying on that more for work, and I went back to performing at the gay bars. And for a year, I just solely relied on starting up my own website and trying to be more like her because she had a great source of revenue, and it was a very safe job. She was writing her own scripts, hiring her own performers, and I was like, oh, porn's not so scary after all. It's not what you think it is. It's not what's on TV. It's not the way the movies portray it. So 2010 is when I started my porn career. And I started and stopped throughout the years because I struggled with whether or not, like, I wanted to be a porn girl and it was a good thing or a bad thing, and I wasn't too sure about it. And I always fell back to porn. I was like, you know what? I like booking my own shoots. I like working my own hours. I like being my own boss. I like presenting myself in a fashion which I want to do, not how somebody else wants to portray me. And it was awesome. And so I continued forward, and she opened my own site for me, and she made my first videos for me, and started hooking up with other studios and filming more and more and more. And Penthouse reopened. I went back only as the DJ. I don't dance at all anymore. And I'm usually editing my own porn videos while I'm DJing at the Penthouse. And I'm making so much content nowadays. I think I've released 7 videos this week alone. As well as I had one video release on Burning Angel this week. And my boyfriend's had 2 videos on Hollow Girls released this week. So we're constantly filming and releasing videos and promoting them. And we kind of slipped into this really awesome job. But it's hard work. Like, we work more than overtime at the adult industry, the world of porn, and I'm constantly training new people, and it doesn't feel like work anymore. It's just what I do, and I like it. I work from the moment I get up to the moment I fall asleep, and it's worth it. It's better than being in a 9-to-5 job. It's better than traveling and going to strip clubs, and it's fun. I mean, who doesn't want to hang out naked and jerk your friends off? I mean, it's a good job.
Now, you mentioned something, and then I want to talk about this, is that you worked in a gay bar?
Oh, yeah.
You got to talk about that, because I can't even imagine what that entailed, why. That's interesting to me, so I'm very curious on that. Could you elaborate?
So I have many talents. I love performing. I love being in the spotlight. So I would perform at drag shows as the only non-drag queen. So they call me a bio queen, which means I was born like this with the full hair and makeup and the sequin gown. And I would perform at drag queen shows, and I would sing live, and I would do fire shows, and it was just another venue for me to perform at. A lot of my friends are drag queens and really active in the gay community out here. And it was just a natural step forward. When they had charity events and they needed volunteer performers, I was always the first with my hand up, willing to do anything. I've sang with Matty Perez, who's a standout gay man in Vancouver, but also a recording artist. On his latest album, I wrote a song with him. We performed at the opening for the Gay Pride Parade for the last 3 years. Last year, I think we pulled like 50 scarves out of my boobs and then shot some silly string out of my nipples while performing on stage. It was super wild and fun. We were both dressed up as red and black clowns. the drag queens and I've always supported my drag queens. I love my queens. So do lots of shows with them. And, yeah, it's, gay bars know what's up. They have the best entertainment. It's the only nightclub where you'll see a shower built in the middle of the room so everyone can watch. Like, very good place to be.
And now we got to talk about this also. I mean, Canada right now is very different. There's a lot of stuff going on, and they have some free speech stuff going on. And I don't know if you're aware, but how do you feel that that affects the porn industry in Canada? Or is it non-existent, or do you not see it? Or is it your primary customers are in the U.S.? How do you feel about, I guess, the Canadian government and the interaction with, I guess, the fetish and porn and adult entertainment industry as a whole?
Is the government involved in the industry?
I mean, from my understanding, there's a lot of stuff going on in Canada, and I mean, I'm an American. I live in the U.S. Just from what I've seen on the outside, I don't know if they are involved, and what their regulations are. And I was wondering if you feel a certain way about that, or if it's just non-existent and they're not really all that involved. I'm just curious.
I don't know. What you talking about, Willis?
Then we have our answer. We have our answer right there.
I'm not affected by government at all.
I'm just asking the questions. I don't know if it
Yeah.
is. That's all I'm saying, everybody. I'm just doing my
Yeah,
job.
no,
That's
we're all
all.
good out here.
And now to talk about your porn career.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what you obviously had a friend who really helped kickstart you off and slowly introduce and really build your website. What did you know to make? I mean, you've done so much and you've done things on so many levels and so many fetishes. Like, where did you know to start and what to do? And what feedback did you get in that entire spectrum of the industry?
Well, I started off with fetish porn because that's what my girlfriend did. Her name is Mistress T. She's amazing. And that started off with a lot of fetishes that didn't require any sort of sex or any sort of nudity. And then as I became more confident, I got into, there was more nudity. And then finally one day I was like, you know, it's exhausting doing solo videos talking to a camera. It's tiring going to these shoots and working with slaves sometimes who aren't prepared to be slaves for the day. Some people volunteer, and then once they get into the scene, they realize that it's actual acting work and that they're not actually my slave and I don't care about them. And it's very challenging sometimes. And I was like, you know what? I'd rather just get laid. Everyone thinks I'm this whore and this slut for filming porn, and I've never, ever had sex on camera. And this was back in like 2011. And I was like, I've never had sex on camera. I was only doing fetish work. Everyone said that I was having sex on camera and I had this reputation of being a bad girl, but I didn't have the financial backing of this reputation. And I was like, you know what? If you're going to call me all these things anyways, and I have a reputation anyways, I might as well just go ahead and do it. Because I was worried about my reputation. I was worried about people being like, oh no, you're so bad, you did the pornos. And they were saying that just because I did a fetish video. And I was doing fetishes like giantess and vor, really safe fetishes. And people assumed that because I was on a porn site that I was having sex. They didn't even look at the video. So finally I was like, you know what? I want to. I've always wanted to. Let's go for this. So I rebranded myself as somebody who was making porn for women and couples. And I was like, you know what? I want you to watch this, and I want you to watch this with your partner, and I want you to get turned on, and I want you to have the sex and have a wonderful relationship, and I want to make porn friendly. And so I started making videos where it was about, you know, loving the person you're with, and we did some really scenic videos, and I was really empowered by promoting the use of porn with couples and with women and really encouraging that market. And the majority of my fans are women, which is amazing. And so moving forward, I was filming a lot with James Wire, and we would do YouTube videos of behind the scenes of what we were actually filming, and then we would film the video itself, and we had some crazy ideas and crazy locations. We shot on the beach and in a church and in a corn maze and all over the place, and it was amazing. And the more I blogged about and spoke about like my intentions, the more women and couples were like, "This is non-threatening pornography. This is amazing." And I was really starting to change some minds, and then James Wire and I stopped working together, and I took a little break, about a year-long break, where I was only filming solo videos, and my audience was like, "When are you going to shoot again? When are you going to shoot?" So I finally gathered up the courage and pulled myself together and got some new male actors and started filming again. And this time I went with the approach that your fetish is good. And so I was taking lots of requests, and I was taking take a shot on the left of my boyfriend. There we go. I was taking lots of requests and really wanting to do what the people wanted to see and explore their ideas. And so the idea that I was only making porn for women went out the window, and now I was making ideas into awesome, fun videos. And people have some crazy ideas that are really sexy. And people have fantasies in their real life they're too afraid to play out, so I play them out on camera. And it became very successful, and then I started working with Hollow Girls, which is a virtual reality porn company. And with Hollow Girls, you can't hide from the camera. You can't angle yourself to look better or worse. You are just there in front of the camera. Virtual reality doesn't hide anything. And so that was a whole new form of acting I had to learn. And at that point, it was all about just being like, you know what? You want me? You're my fan? Here it is, guys. There's no Photoshop. If there's freckles on my cheek, you're going to see them. The lighting doesn't hide anything anymore. You're seeing everything. Virtual reality, if you forgot to shave a tiny little patch on your leg, they're going to see it. And so delving into that type of shooting was really exciting and very different because it shoots from the man's point of view, and the camera doesn't move. You have to constantly be up on the guy, and you're the one moving around. And so it was a whole new skill set to learn, and it was really interesting to start watching VR. And I've watched videos of myself and of others where I actually duck out of the way and move because you have this full physiological reaction to something you know is fake in a box on your face. And it's a whole new experience in porn because your body is so into it. Your system believes it's real. You have these real reactions. Not that you didn't before watching a VHS tape in your basement, but it's become so intense now. So learning how to manipulate your audience even more through virtual reality has changed what we're filming. And so starting and shooting with other studios now, working with Burning Angel and Burning Angel VR, and there's more VR companies coming out in Canada all the time. And I've now purchased my own VR rig to start shooting my own virtual reality content. As the system grows out here, as the community of pornographers grows in Canada, we're looking for more and more models. So I've now opened up my own agency. I work with macmodels.ca, and now I'm training people on how to perform. People who have their own clips for sale stores, webcam girls who are already performing at a basic webcam level, getting them into new markets, whether it's through 2D pornography, their own clip stores, or virtual reality. It's exciting. It's grown. Like, I've gone from being the girl who just wanted to be the centerfold to the girl who's training other girls now. So it's been a journey.
And to speak about that, I mean, do you see VR? I mean, I think we alluded to it, but do you see VR kind of becoming the future of the porn industry?
Absolutely. I do and I don't. There are pros and cons to it for sure, but it's in its infancy still. This January at the ADMs was the first time that VR was recognized as a porn category. So it's very, very new still. Which, when anything is new, just like we all used to have Razr flip phones, now we all have iPhones. There's going to be that weird transition until it becomes the norm. Right now, it's about getting the VR headset into everyone's hand. Once they have the VR headset, then it can be used for good or evil. You can watch movies, you can watch Netflix, you can be on roller coasters, you can play games, or you could download porn. I suggest you watch porn. It's far more entertaining. People don't know how to use their VR headsets to watch a roller coaster app yet. So when that becomes the norm, it's only a small step before downloading videos, movies, Netflix, and porn becomes the norm. Right now, we're still teaching people how to use the headset. And the headset's a very simple piece of technology, but it is new and people have to learn. And outside of entertainment, there is no real value for a VR headset. So it's a leisure product that people are buying, and they're very cheap and inexpensive. You can get them for as little as, $19.99. Sometimes you want the whole Oculus Rift, it can be up to $1,000 for all the add-ons. It depends, what level of gaming and entertainment you're into. So it can be very inexpensive, it can be very expensive, but it's still, right now, the market is about teaching people that this is the way of the future. It's grown astronomically in this last year. It's been growing astronomically just since January. So it's going in the right direction enough that I bought my own VR rig to shoot my own VR porn. Uh, and I noticed that YouTube is offering VR videos now. Very few, but I think that's a market I definitely want to jump into and try out. So you might see some VR videos coming from Samantha Mack. But I'm excited about where it's going to go. And the product is, you can't compare it to anything else. It's not like watching porn on your computer. It's not like watching a VHS tape in the basement when you're a kid. It's not like sneaking a magazine under your bed. Like, VR takes over your whole mind and body. So it's a very exciting time in technology. Whether you're using it for porn or not, it's just awesome. So we'll see in a couple of years where it goes. Worst case scenario, when we're filming our VR, we also have a backup camera running, so we can still produce a nice 2D content for your laptop or cell phone needs. But it's good experience, and filming in virtual reality is so difficult. It really asks a lot of the performers. And now that I'm training people to shoot for VR first, and then we teach them how to shoot traditional porn, they're learning skills that make them, like put them head and shoulders above everybody else, because they're learning. It's like learning to drive standard first, and then flipping into an automatic car. You're learning skills that are way over and above what you need for the basics, and it makes you a better performer.
And obviously, I mean, you're doing this. I think this is a massive change in the industry as a whole. How do you feel that the industry has changed since you've been involved in it?
Oh gosh, since I've been involved with it, I started in porn back in the MySpace days. My first stripper swag still has my MySpace address on it. So it's evolved from MySpace to all the way up to virtual reality. We've grown. Our technology grows so quickly. I mean, just look at our phones. Every year, our cell phone that we're talking on is obsolete, and we need the new one. Things change so fast. The cameras we used 6 months ago, we don't shoot with anymore. The technology is moving at such a rate that we can't really keep up, but it's exciting. It shouldn't be a bad thing that we can't keep up. It should be an exciting thing to see how we can expand and how we can do more. I'm stoked. I mean, we started at the bottom, now we're here.
And now, I mean, you got a lot of platforms where you release your content, and I'm probably going to miss all of them, so I'm not even going to attempt. I'll let you take that away in a minute. But how do you feel about clips for sales versus, your website versus, through major, I guess, porn companies? Like, how do you feel that your distribution system is working to get your content out
Well,
there to as many fans as possible?
being on a major porn site is really cool because you get lots of notoriety. And people get excited. Like, I had an interview a couple days ago where all they wanted to know about was Joanna Angel. What was she like? How does she talk? How tall is she? Like, they didn't care that I was on her website. They cared that I had met her in the flesh. And that was pretty awesome. It's cool because you get more exposure. It's cool because you get to brag about, hey, I was on this site. Look how cool I am. But at the end of the day, clips for sale and making my own content will always make me more money. And the concept is I can do one shoot one time for Burning Angel, and that is that's the money I've made right then and there. They produce it, they advertise it, and they get all the revenue from it for the rest of their days. Whereas if I'm making money for my own website, for my own Clips for Sale store, then I'm getting all the sales from now until forever on those videos. And so financially, it's better for me to make my own content and sell my own stuff. I don't have the same reach that big websites have. Anyways, moral of my story was that, being in control of your own website and having your own content will always make you more money, just making residual income off of one-time paychecks. But you don't get as much fame, you don't get as much notoriety, you don't get as much advertising because you're small beans. Clips for Sale studios are small beans compared to, Brazzers, Not America, or Winx, or Hollow Girls. So the simple solution is just to do both.
And obviously, I think this is a problem that everybody has in the industry right now, is that your content goes on other sites that are not yours. And the big ones have this major problem. I would imagine that even some people on Clips for Sales have this. What is the solution for you with that?
With piracy in general, when I see my content up on another site like Pornhub or whatever, XTube, RedTube, XHamster, I have to evaluate how much traffic it's drawing to me. If it links back to me, I'm super stoked about it. If somebody takes my content, posts it, and says you can buy the rest of our videos here and links back to me, it's nice advertising. It's a rip-off, but it's nice advertising. If you want to see the silver lining. When I see video, people pretend to be me. There's fake accounts on all these tube sites pretending to be me, and they just blast out 20, 30 of my videos at a time. It's a piss-off, but there is paperwork I can do to prove that I am who I am and that these videos are my property, and the sites take them down pretty darn fast. Pornhub's the best at it. They know who I am. I have a premium Pornhub account, and if my content is somewhere else, they go, yep, no problem, and they take it down right away. I don't want people reselling my content and profiting off of it, because that's not fair. They can, if they have their own studios and they want that content, they can buy customs from me that I can make for them for their website. That's fine. They can then sell that content because we've made an agreement. But to steal videos off my website and then just resell them, it's crappy. It's not what good people do. You wouldn't do that with any other company. So why do it to porn stars? And the problem is too, is that people feel entitled to porn. They feel like they are owed free pornography online. They don't feel like they should have to pay for it. They don't see it as a job. And trust me, it is a job. It's that mentality that you can get whatever you want for free on the internet. It's why people don't feel bad about ripping off a girl. And if they go, oh, porn stars make so much money, they won't notice. No, we really notice. And we don't make money if you continue to steal our content and share it with the world. Sometimes it works with good advertising, sometimes it doesn't. More often than not, if you're a smaller studio, it's good to be seen on bigger platforms. But we work really hard. We have to hire other performers to get locations, to have film people, to edit our videos. So much goes into making a video that to have it just taken away and shared with the universe, it gets 100,000 views when I could have had, you think those people bought it for $1, I'd have $100,000? It's a bit of a kick in the pants. But it is what it is, and the best thing I found is to create premium accounts on all these tube sites and just produce my own videos. I put out my own advertisements constantly. I use websites like Dicky Virgin, Club Stiletto to advertise samples that link back to my website. If I'm posting on Pornhub, it's linking back to my website. And kind of that idea, if you can't beat them, join them. So if the website's there and it's getting millions of views, I might as well post something to at least be seen more, so that website will get more sales at the end of the day. a little bit crappy and it's a little bit beneficial depending on whether you're in control of where your content goes.
And now to kind of change gears for a second, because I want to wrap this up in the next few minutes. You've won many awards in the adult industry. I believe you were just at an awards ceremony a few weeks ago. How do awards come about, and what is it like for you to be recognized by the community for a certain project?
Okay, so we were just at the AVN Awards in Las Vegas, where I was representing Hollow Girls and signing at their booth. And Hollow Girls won Best VR Studio and Best VR Scene. And that's super exciting because I work with Hollow Girls weekly right now, and so being a part of a company that is winning awards and moving forward is so exciting. You get more recognition, and you know what, being validated for the work that you put in is such a good feeling. Any award makes you feel happy. It's been good, but you're only the best of the best in that moment, and then the next year starts and the next competition starts. So, we're holding trophies now. We're very happy, but whether we can maintain that is another story. It's all of the awards have everything to do with the fans. It's got very little to do with what we've made. It's if our fans have really liked it and made us think about it, and we've gotten noticed because of them. If we have the highest sales or the most likes or the most views, if our peers are watching our content and saying this is worth seeing, that's a huge compliment. But if they say it on a big stage with a trophy, it's even a bigger compliment. But we were the best porn studio in January at the award show. We'll see again next January. What's happened? Are we gonna just be the best and be lazy and move forward, or are we going to have to push because now other companies know there's competition and they're going to be working even harder than us? I mean, the first year curse is when someone gets a trophy and then they get lazy because they're the best and they end up disappearing into the industry. Once you win, you can't get lazy. It's time to work harder at that point. So we are working really hard right now to continue to get that recognition. And it's fun. It's almost like an athlete winning the Stanley Cup. It's what you do anyways, and you have fun at it. So to strive to be better isn't hard. It's just, another day at work, and when you're having fun at work, it doesn't feel like work. So it's going to be a fun journey this year.
And then finally, there's so much we could talk about, and we didn't even scratch the surface of everything you've done. But the final thing, and I want to give you an opportunity to promote yourself. Where can people find your clips for sale? Where can people find your website? Where can people find you on YouTube, Twitter, websites, things along those lines?
Links to everything is at addictedtosamantha.com, and that will link you to apps where you can get personal video messages from me, like Facebook and major social media. Basically across the board, I am the Samantha Mack on everything: Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, you name it. My YouTube videos are at The Real Samantha Mack because I got booted off when I was Samantha Mack. So I had to come back with a new account. But the good stuff, the stuff you really want to see, is at macmovies.com. And, of course, the other sites that I'm on are hollowgirlsvr.com, clubstiletto.com, and bringingangel.com, and bringangelvr.com. But all my good stuff is at macmovies.com. And now it's not just me anymore. Now it's all of my models working with me.
I think that wraps everything up. Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Thank you to my guest, Samantha Mack. Thank you to all the fans who listen to this podcast. I know we've been sporadic. I've been dealing with my other podcast as well as my other website, which I'm not going to mention here. You can just Google my name and find it. Definitely appreciate it if you did. But the goal here is definitely to say thank you to everybody. Again, to my guests, to all the fans. And we're going to be trying to bring you more and more episodes closer together. My schedule is really hectic. It's not so easy to find people who want to talk about this. But when they do, we love to bring you questions and give you answers and provide you an insight into the adult entertainment industry. I'm working on episode 4. as this episode comes out. So definitely stay tuned. And we're also gearing up for an iTunes release in the next month or so. But while you wait, you can definitely check out Samantha Mack's links. Definitely follow her on Twitter or YouTube. Check out her website because she is really wonderful. She's doing amazing things. And if she didn't convince you to be a fan throughout this podcast of hers, I recommend you give her a shot because she really is one of the most amazing people doing some of the most amazing stuff in this industry and really pushing forward something. And we really explored only like a tenth of her. And that's me being extremely generous to myself on what I could have asked and what we covered. So definitely stay tuned and check out all of her stuff. Until next time, everybody, until I see you again, definitely have a wonderful week, month, and definitely stay with us as we launch on iTunes and really start to ramp up in 2017 with this podcast.